ज्ञानदं शान्तरूपिणं श्रीचन्द्रशेखरगुरुं प्रणमामि मुदान्वहम्। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, रामाय रामभद्राय रामचन्द्राय वेदसे, रघुनाथाय नाथाय सीताय पतये नमः। श्रीकान्तो मातुलो यस्य जननी सर्वमङ्गला, जनकः शङ्करो देवो तं वन्दे कुञ्जराननम्। अकुन्देन्दुतुषारहारधवलाय शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता, सामाम्बातु सरस्वती भगवती निःश्वेषजाड्यापः। इदानीं वयं बालकाण्डे श्रीमद् आदिकाव्ये श्रीमद् रामायणे पञ्चमः सर्गः अर्थात् अयोध्यानगरवर्णनम् अपि अनुभविष्यामः. So today we are going to enjoy the part where in Srimad Ramayana where Valmiki describes the greatness of Ayodhya Nagara. So beautifully he continues after the Ayodhya kingdom, he describes the king of Ayodhya, the greatness of the king, and also his ministers. So indirectly he tells us that a good kingdom will have a good ruler or a good leader, and who is advised and being surrounded by great ministers. So that is the Vedic literature and the Vedic culture that we have had here always. So let's enjoy Ayodhya Nagara Varnana. सर्व सर्वापूर्वमियं योजम् आसीत् कृत्स्ना वसुन्धरा, प्रजापतिमुपामुपादाय नृपाणां जयशालिनां, येषां स सगरो नाम सागरो येन कानितः, षष्टिपुत्रसहस्राणि यम्यान्तं पर्यवारयन्। इक्ष्वाकूणामिदं तेषां राज्ञां वंशे महात्मनां, महदुत्पन्नमाख्यानं रामायणमिति श्रुतम्। तदिदं वर्तयिष्यामि सर्वं निखिलमादितः, धर्मकामार्थसहितं श्रोतव्यमनुसूयया। कोशलो नाम मुदितः स्फीतो जनपदो महाने, निविष्टः सरयूतीरे प्रभूतधनधान्यवान्। अयोध्या नाम नगरी तत्रासील्लोकविश्रुता, मनुना मानवेन्द्रेण या पुरी निर्मिता स्वयं. The very word Ayodhya means that a city which can never be defeated. True to its name, even today, it is being situated in the grand state of Uttar Pradesh, ruled by our Yogi ji. So, the greatest Rama and the glories of Ayodhya Nagara, it says that Manu Namanavendrena. Manu, basically, it was the city was planned, designed, and constructed by Manu in ancient days for the welfare of human beings or for the king of Ikshvaku Vamsha. आयतादशशद्वे च योजनानि महापुरी, श्रीमती त्रीणि विस्तीर्णा सुविभक्तमहापदा, राजमार्गेण महता सुविभक्तेन शोभिता, मुक्तपुष्पावकीर्णेन जलसिक्तेन नित्यशः, तां तु राजा दशरथो महाराष्ट्रविवर्धनः, पुरीमावासयामास दिवि Devapatirita. So the Raja or the ruler of that beautiful kingdom, his name was Dasharatha. Purima Vasayamasa Divi Devapatirita. So on this world, if there is going to be a like a Swarga or heaven, That's how this city was located, and the water uh, channels and the rivers and the small channels in this country were always jalasiktena nityashaha. Water was flowing through them in a very mellifluous manner all the time. So it had 12 yojana length and 3 yojana width, and that beauty, the city was very beautiful. And then the king's army was being there, and it was looking like a heaven on earth. That's what this is. Kapata toranavatim suvibhaktantarapanam sarvan sarva सर्वयन्त्रायुधवतीं मुषितां सर्वशिल्पिभिः सूतमागतसं सम्पादां श्रीमतीमतुलप्रभाम् उच्चाट्टालध्वजवतीं शतघ्नीं शतसङ्कुलां वधूनाटकसङ्गैश्च संयुगां सर्वतः पुरीम् उद्यानां महतीं सालमेखलां दुर्गगम्भीरपदिकां दुर्गमन्ये दुरासदां वाजिवारणसम्पूर्णां गोभिरुष्ट्रैर्करैस्तताम् सामान्तराजसङ्गैश्च बलिभिः बलिकर्मभिः आवृतां नानादेशनिवासैश्च वणिग्भिः उपशोभितां प्रसादैः रत्नविकृतैः पर्वतैरुपशोभितां कूटागारैश्च सम्पूर्णाम् इन्द्रसेव्यममरावतीं चित्रामष्टपदाकारां वरनारीगणैर्युतानां सर्वरत्नसमाकीर्णां विमानगृहशोभितां गृहगाढामविच्छिद्रां समभूमौ निवेशितां चालितण्डुलसम्पूर्णाम् इक्षुकण्डरसोदुकं रसोदकां दुन्दुभिर्मृदङ्गैश्च वीणाभिः पणवैस्तथा नादितां वृषमध्यर्थं पृथिव्यां तामनुत्तमां विमानमिव सिद्धानां तपसादिगतं दिवि सुनिवेशित वेश्मान्तं नरोत्तमसमावृतां ये च बाणैर्न विद्यन्ति विविक्तमपरावरम् शब्दवेद्यं च वित्तं लघुहस्ता विशारदाः सिंहव्याघ्रवराहाणां मत्तानां नर्दतां वने हन्तारो निशितैर्बाणैः बलात् बाहुबलैरपि दादृतादृशानां सहस्रैः तामिपूता तामभिपूर्णां महारथैः पुरीमावासयामास राजा दशरथस्तदा तामग्नि तामग्निमद्भिः गुणवद्भिः आवृतां द्विजोत्तमैः वेदषडङ्गपारकैः सहस्रतैः सत्यरतैः महात्मभिः महर्षिकल्पैः ऋषिभिः च केवलैः. The greatness of the city here, Valmiki describes that in that city, water was very tasty, like ikshukanda rasa, like sugarcane juice. Like that, there were so many brahmanas who were ahitagnis, who were performing their nityagni and the six pakayajnas, namely Darshapurnamasheshti, Agrayaneshti, Chaturmasyeshti, Pashubandha, and Sautramani. So all these ishtis and Adhana also they performed, and Agnihotra. So all these seven Havari Yajnas they were performing in an excellent manner, and also there were Sapta Somayagas, Vajapayis, and others living in that city. So Shadangas Brahmanas were learning the Vedas with all its six sanghas. Such great Brahmanas who were very virtuous were living in that city. Like that, there were lot of people giving lot of dhanas in charity for dharma. They were giving, donating a lot of money. Like that, like great munis and rishis, they were doing different kinds of radas and everything. So like that, Ayodhya Nagari was beautifully filled with such great Maha Manushas. So now let's look at what Valmiki has to say about Raja Varnana. तस्यां पुर्यामयोज्यायां वेदवित्सर्गसङ्ग्रगः दीर्घदर्शी महातेजाः पौरजानपदप्रियः इक्ष्वाकूणामतिरतो यज्वाद् धर्मपरो वशी महर्षिकल्पो राजस्त्रिषु लोकेषु विश्रुतः बलवन्नीतामित्रो बलवन्निहतामित्रो मित्रवान् विजितेन्द्रियः धनैश्च सञ्चयैश्चान्यैः चक्रवैश्रवणोपमैः यथा मनुर्महातेजो तेजालोकस्य परिरक्षिता तथा दशरथो राजा वसञ्जगदपालयत् इक्ष्वाकूणमतिरतो यज्वा धर्मपरो वशी. How nice of a Raja was Dasharatha. Balavan Nihitamitro Mitravan Vijitendriyaha. He has won his Indriyas and he had so many very good friends whom he could trust. शक्रवैश्रवणोपमः सञ्जयैश्चान्यैः धनैश्च वैश्रवणोपमः. So he had so much money so that he could be compared with none other than Vaishravana or that Kubera. यथा मनुर्महातेजा लोकस्य परिरक्षिता तथा दशरथो राजा वसन् जगदपालयत्. He was protecting his prajas or the citizens of Ayodhya Nagara in a very efficient manner, and his name was a great virtuous Raja, and his name was Dasharatha. That's what the author says at this point. तेन सत्याभिसन्धेन त्रिवर्गमनुतिष्ठता पालिता सा पुरी श्रेष्ठा इन्द्रेणामरावती. So how was that city looking and how was it being protected and it was being managed? So author here says Indrena Amarapuri, like how Indra's Amarapuri or the headquarters of the celestials in heaven was looking. That's how it was being managed and it was looking. So such was the greatness of Ayodhya Puri. तस्मिन् पुरवरे हृष्टा धर्मात्मानो बहुश्रुताः नरास्तुष्टा धनैः स्वैः स्वरैर्लुब्धा सत्यवादिनः नाल्पस् नाल्पसन्निचयः कश्चिदासीत् तस्मिन् पुरोत्तमे कुटुम्बीयो ह्यसिद्धार्थो क्वाश्वध धनधान्यवान् कामी वा न कधर्यो वा नृशंसः पुरुषः क्वचित् द्रष्टुं शक्यमयोध्यायां न विद्यवानाविद्य नाविद्वान्न च नास्तिकः. So how great were the prajas of that country. So the king was very virtuous. The prajas, there were no atheists, na nastikaha, na avidvane. There were no people in that country, in Ayodhya, in that city, who were not vidwans or erudite scholars. So it was never possible. Drashtum shakyamayodhyayam. No one was able to even uh, could try it was not possible to see any of these people, and there were no men who were very lustful, kami va kadaryo va, and who were robbers and thieves. Such were the greatness of the prajas, or the subjects of that country. सर्वे नराश्च नार्यश्च धर्मशीला सुसंयताः उदिताशीलवब् शीलवृत्ताभ्यां महर्षय इवामलाः. Okay, and what were the glories of the citizens? Na kundali na makudi na sragvi nalpa bhogavane na mrushto na nuliptango na sugandhascha vidyate. So wearing kundala, as per Dharma Shastras, for men, it's being prescribed. Depending on one's what yajna one has performed, people wear different kinds of kundala in their ears. So, so ear ring is something very small. Kundala is something that keeps hanging down. So it needs more gold, which means the people were all very rich, and actually everyone was wearing kundala. Na makuti. Everyone was having a mukuta, or like the crown on their head. Na sragvi na alpabhogavan. No one was interested in very bodily pleasures, cheap pleasures. Na mrushto. Mrushta means not, there was nobody who would eat like very cheap foods that is being prescribed, that's being prohibited by Dharmashastras. Nanuliptango na sugandhascha vidyate. There was nobody who did not smear their body with sandalwood paste and various different, very sweet smelling sugandha dravyas. So that again shows the status of the people and how rich they were in that country. So basically, wearing a haram and then kankana and then mukuta and like kundala itself would take 1 kilo, 1 and 2 kilograms of gold. The entire country, all men were decorated like that. Just imagine how rich they were. So before the foreign attackers looted our country, that's how it was everywhere, and that's what Valmiki describes here, the glories of our Ayodhya Nagara at the time of Dasharatha's rule. नामृष्टभोजी न दाता नाप्यनङ्गः निष्कद्रुगु नाहस्ताभरणो वापि दृश्यते नाप्य नात्मवान् नाहिताग्निः नायज्वा न क्षुद्रो वा न तस्करः कश्चिदासीदयोध्यायां न चावृत्तो न शङ्करः न सर्वकर्मनिरता नित्यं ब्राह्मणा विजितेन्द्रियाः दानाध्ययनशीलाश्च संयताश्च प्रतिगृहे So basically, there were nobody in the first three varnas who were not an Ahitagni and na Yajva. There were nobody who did not perform a Somayaga in the great city of Ayodhya. Na Kshudro means there were nobody who would go with like the Durdevatas and Abhicharas and all those bad things. There were no robbers or with very stealers and people with low qualities. कश्चिदासीदयोध्यायां न चावृत्तो न सङ्करः. So the Brahmanas of that city were also Vijiten Brahmana Vijitendriyaha. They were all people who had won their Indriyas and had and were very stern in their mind and were doing their duties, the six duties. दानाध्ययनशीलाश्च संयताश्च प्रतिग्रहे. Dana Adhyayana Samyatascha Pratigrahe. The six duties of a Brahmana as per Dharma Shastras are Dana Pratigraha, Adhyayanam, and then learning and teaching Vedas, taking and giving gifts, and doing yajnas and officiating the yajnas. So six duties, they were all very good, it seems. So like that, the prajas of Ayodhya Nagara were also very great. Na nasti ko nanruta ko na kaschidapa न कश्चिदबहुश्रुतः नासूयको न चाशक्तो न विद्वान् विद्यते तदा नाषडङ्गविदत्रासीत् नाव्रतो न सहस्रतः नदीन क्षिप्त चित्तो वा व्यदितो वापि कश्चन कश्चिन्नरो वा नारी वा नास्त्रीमान्नाप्यरूपवान् द्रष्टुं शक्यमयोध्यायां नापि राजन्यभक्तिमान् वन्नेश्वर भक्त्यचतुर्थेषु देवतातिथिपूजकाः कृतज्ञश्च वदान्यश्च शूरा विक्रमसंयुताः दीर्घायुचो नरा सर्वे धर्मं सत्यं च संश्रिताः सहिता पुत्रपौत्रैश्च नित्यं श्रीभिः पुरोत्तमे क्षत्रं ब्रह्ममुगं चासीद्वैश्या क्षत्रमनुव्रताः शूद्राः सर्वधर्मनिरताः त्रीन् वर्णानुपचारिणः सा तेनेष्वाकुनादेन पुरी सुपरिरक्षता पुरीषु परिरक्षिता यथा पुरस्तान्मनुना मानवेन्द्रेण धीमता योधानामग्निकल्पानां पेशलानाममर्षिणां सम्पूर्णाकृतविद्यानां गुहाकेसरिणामिव कम्पोजविषये जातैः बाह्लीशैश्च हयोत्तमैः वनायुजैर्नदीजैश्च पूर्णहरि हयोत्तमैः विन्ध्यपर्वत जैर्मत्तैः पूर्णहैमवतैरपि मदा मदान्वितैरतिबलैः मातङ्गैः पर्वतोपमैः ऐरावतकुलीनैश्च महापद्मकुलैस्तथा अज्ञानदभिनिष्पन्नैः वामनादभि च द्विपैः मृगैश्चैव भद्रमन्त्रमृगैस्तथा भद्रमन्त्रे भद्रैर्मृगैः मृगमन्तरैश्च सा पुरी नित्यमत्तैः सदा पूर्णा नागैरचलसन्निभैः सायोजने जद्वे भूयः सत्यनामा प्रकाशते तां पुरीं समहातेजो तेजा राजा दशरथो महान् शशालश शमितामित्रो नक्षत्राणीव चन्द्रमाः तां सत्यनामां दृढतोरणार्गलां गृहैः विचित्रैः उपशोभितां शिवां पुरीमयोज्ञायां नृप सिंहसङ्कुलां सशालवैशक्रमसो महीपतिः इत्याकर्षे रामायणे वाल्मीके आदिकाव्ये बालकाण्डे षष्ठः सर्गः सम्पूर्णम्। So beautifully, the Ayodhya Nagara was filled with very great people and a great king, and everyone have won their indriyas, and everyone was Jitendriya. The rule of Dharma was happening, and Dasharatha was there to protect the Dharmas and protect all his subjects from any enemies. And the great things like the Airavata and everything were there, and beautifully the very tall horses from the Kamboja Desha or from the today's Cambodia and others were all purchased, and that country with filled with elephants, camels and horses, always ready to protect the kingdom and attack those intruders who would intrude in their land. All the Brahmanas were doing their six duties, Kshatriyas were ruling, Vaishyas were doing trades, and the Shudras gained the merit of all the tapa done by these three vargas by helping them in accomplishing their goals. So, such beautifully, everyone was happy in their own accord, and thus ends the sixth sarga of Balakanda, where we saw the greatness of Ayodhya and the greatness of the Ayodhya's king. All the subjects were wearing all the ornaments, and they were fully decorated with Vasanadi Tailas, Vasanadi Sugandha Dravyas, etc., etc. And the whole country was very prosperous. From the verses of Valmiki, we could envision a beautiful city where there were all riches everywhere and there were no signs of bad things. So people's personal contact was also very good. That countries and that cities like code of conduct was also very good. So basically, we see in the US that and wherever that, like, we have very good traffic signals and rules and everything, but there is no rule which enforces the personal contact, who drinks what, who eats what, who sleeps with who, and all that. But the greatness of Ayodhya is people of Ayodhya were all well behaved, plus there was also very good rule of dharma and very good code of contact, not just in the streets and like in the courts and whatnot. The personal contact of the behave of the people, the citizens were also very good. Such is the glory of our Ayodhya Nagari. So with this, we are ending this live streams. See you in the next one. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Om.